Wild Katie appeared, and today for you it is another episode of Coffee and Anime. So you might have known from last week's episode, I decided to review the movie because I really badly wanted to talk about it, and I didn't want to make like two My Hero Academia themed kind of videos for the week, so I decided just to make it that one episode. So I decided that this week I will be reviewing two episodes since obviously I didn't review last week's episode. So today I'll be reviewing My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 20 and Episode 21. So again, let's start off with Episode 20. Alright, so Episode 20, I would say, is another kind of chill kind of episode. Eri pays a visit to UA after Principal Nezu basically has the talk about how, yes, it's great that you guys want Eri to come to, the school festival so that she can have fun, but do remember this girl basically has been shut out for most of her life. She's not had any good interactions with people. Like, any interactions she's had with other people have not been good ones. So yeah, it's kind of, we don't want to overload her, which is like fair enough. So they decide that one day the Eri is just to come and walk around UA and just see what it's like. And of course, her tour guides are Deku and Mirio, which is, of course, they would be. But yeah, it was really nice to see Eri sort of like, outside of the hospital and, actually gotten to go around. So obviously, as Deku and Mirio are walking around UA, we bump into Class 1B, and of course we run into Mr. Copycat. I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but if you know the anime, you know who I am talking about. Yeah, he's one of, I'm not a big fan of this character, he just kind of annoys me, but yeah. So he obviously talks about what Class 1B is going to do, because he's like, oh, you guys are doing a concert? Pfft, we're doing a stage play, which is totally original from us, which is basically Romeo and Juliet, Prisoner of Azkaban, Return of the King, and it's like, okay, I don't know how they avoided copyright with that. Romeo and Juliet I can understand because the copyright embargo thing is lifted on that, but I don't think Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings is quite yet. I don't think so. But yeah, I found that quite funny. And again, it shows how much of a geek Horikoshi is, because we all know that man is a geek. We know that freaking Mirio screamed out Phantom Menace in that one episode, even though the subtitles were saying something completely different. We all know what he screamed. And yeah, it's one of these things I kind of love about Horikoshi, because he's a complete nerd, and I love that. He's a complete geek. And because if you read I am reading the manga, I'm just not caught up with everything that's going on in the manga. But in the first volume, when we're seeing the origins of Deku, when they're explaining the exam stuff, we see that a lot of the robot enemies are shaped as Mario villains, which I find funny. And also when Deku is talking about the heroes and stuff, you see silhouettes of heroes that we know, like Spider-Man. I think there's also Superman as well, just silhouettes. But of course they couldn't do that because of copyright in the anime. I'm not sure exactly, I'm guessing maybe manga rules are a little different, maybe. But yeah, so that's a thing which I freaking love. But yeah. Although I kind of hope we get to see the stage play, because that's going to be interesting to say the least. But one of the things I love is after interacting with Mr. Copycat, Mirio's like, I'm sorry, Eri, that you have to freaking see the bad parts of UA, and I'm like, yeah. But yeah, that's always really, really funny. And then obviously we get to go to the support class and see what they're doing, and we get to see Hatsume. Whenever I hear Hatsume's name, I always really think of Hatsume Miku, because yeah, but we see that she's working on a few things, obviously for the festival, because they do say that the school festival is basically the support students' time to shine. It's them who get to show off what they're doing, how the sports festival is kind of, the hero courses. time to shine. You know, everyone has their moments to shine. Kind of get to see all of that, which is really cool. And then obviously the robot goes to nearly explode, and whew, but yeah, I kind of hope we get to see a bit more of her, because she is a very interesting character, Hatsune. Because she's crazy, she's kooky, and I love that. But yeah, so I hope we kind of get to see more of her. They also mentioned that there's going to be like a beauty pageant in this festival, which I kind of gathered because they usually kind of do like those kind of things in school festivals in anime, that from what I've seen. They did it in Persona 4. Well, they had a beauty pageant and a drag pageant, I guess you could say. But yeah, so they went into sort of stuff like that, because that's why the girl that normally stops Mr. Copycat wasn't there, unfortunately. So, because she was focusing on the beauty pageant. And I know, again, I keep forgetting her name, but you know who I'm talking about, like the girl of the big three. She is also entering, but she always seems to lose to this one other like girl who always seems to win the pageant. But she's determined to hopefully win this year, since again this year is her last year, since she's in her last year of UA. So she's kind of hoping that she'll win. But they're also saying that, you know, the first year class 1B has gotten a lot of like secret fans and stuff like that after she shot that advert for like what she did with her internship. So yeah, there's that. So it'll be interesting to see if that goes forward. Now I kind of want to talk about Gentle and Lubrava. Kind of got to learn more about them this episode and how they kind of formed their team. So we learned that obviously Gentle wanted to make these videos and get his name out there and, you know, have people respect him and stuff like that, but of course, him being in the older generation, he doesn't quite get how technology works, and he attempts to make a YouTube video, which I don't know if they actually have a name for the website that they use, but it basically is a YouTube video. And the video he makes is horrible. It like does not do well. He gets a lot of mean hate comments, and it's no, not good. But then he hears a knock at the door, and it's this girl saying that she is his biggest fan, and she was like, "I'm sorry to tell you this, but I had to hack into your account to find out your address," which, to be honest, is kind of creepy and oof, God. But then they have a talk and they end up working together, and as soon as Lubrava comes into the team, and she obviously helps edit the videos and stuff like that, you know, the videos get a lot better, and of course they get a lot more views, which again really helps with that. And I will say Gentle and Lubrava's relationship is interesting. I'm not sure what to make of it, because I'm not sure how old Lubrava is supposed to be, so I don't know if they're trying to make a romantic thing or it's just more of a budding friendship. I'm not sure, but she is like still like a big fan of his. Like, I don't know if it's kind of like that. It's like a sort of like when a content creator becomes good friends with a fan, I guess. I'm not sure, but yeah, I do like the kind of commentary again with YouTube. With a lot of people will do anything usually to get those views, to get that money. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I do YouTube and stuff like that, but mine's not for money or anything. I just like talking about fandom stuff, and that's why this channel exists, because I just love talking about fandom stuff. I mean, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's still just a fun platform for me to have. Anyways, we're not here to talk about that, but yeah. Alright, so then we have the sort of Deku and All Might talk again. So they're obviously, because again, what I like is Deku is trying to obviously get this, like, find a new way to obviously use his quirk without obviously breaking his bones and stuff like that, but obviously he doesn't master it right away, which again, I love when this anime does that, because a lot of, like, I've watched a lot of shonen anime in my time. Like, I've been a bit, like, you know, I've watched Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, all of that shiitake, but a lot of the times when they learn a new move, they learn it pretty quick in that episode. But with Deku, it does take time, and I like that, because that's one of the things I think that really caught me onto this show for a fact. A lot of like other like shonen animes, like, again, the main character is usually very OP, like he grasps his powers very quickly and stuff like that. But with Deku, he still has a lot to learn about his quirk. Yes, he is quite powerful, but there's still things that limit him, and I like that, and I like the growth. Again, Horikoshi writing is amazing. He's definitely stepping out of the mold when it comes to, you know, doing normal, the whole shonen kind of arc stuff. Like, we still get the odd cliche here and there, but, you know, he does go out his way to make things a little different, and again, I love that. And his writing, again, so good. The man deserves the world, and he does not deserve all the hate he's been getting recently. If you know, you know. But, yeah, so yeah, that's again something I can appreciate with Horikoshi, because the man, he knows what he's doing, and I like that. Like, we get to see character progression a lot. But yeah. And again, it's quite interesting because when Deku and All Might were talking, Deku did sort of ask about how, like, All Might came when he was, you know, learning to use his quirk. And All Might says that he actually was able to use 100% of his power very quickly. Like, nearly right away he was able to control 100%. But with Deku, obviously it's a different story. But the thing is, though, as Deku stated, they both started off quirkless. As we know, All Might was quirkless before. Oh yeah, but again, they still state how different they are in, like, character stuff, especially since All Might did say he got 100% very quickly, but again, Deku still can't quite get it. Like, he gets to about 20%, but then that's a bit, like, even breaking it. So yeah, it's very interesting, and I really like that talk. When they're in the midst of training, Hatsu comes in, and because she has, like, one of those flying camera things, and she's like, oh, sorry, that was my bad. And again, Deku was worried, going, oh no, did she just realize what's going on? But no, she's more focused on what's going on with her machines. Like, she's not that fussed that Deku and All Might are having this weird, like, training session in the woods by themselves. Like, she's not concerned about that. She doesn't care. As long as her babies are okay, she's okay. But yeah, so obviously Hatsu and Deku are talking, and obviously they mention the item that she is trying to make for him. And All Might's like, oh, this item. And when that sparks, Deku and All Might talk about how All Might did have a sort of, like, All Might did have an item before, like, he did try and use it, but the problem was it was very bulky, and he couldn't really move properly, so he kind of just, like, got rid of it. But they also kind of had a talk about, you know, they also had a talk where it's like, it's great that you're getting this item, Deku, but please, like, don't rely on it, because he's seen a lot of heroes who rely on these support items, and then if it breaks, then they're fucked. Like, the villain's gonna win regardless. And again, that's, like, having these interesting talks, because again, a lot of times it's like when a character gets an upgrade of some kind, like, this thing will never break or anything, and it comes a plot device and this person becomes stronger all of a sudden. But they do talk about that, no, this item could break, so just don't rely on it. And again, I love that. Like, again, I'm gonna talk about it, but Horikoshi is an amazing writer. Like, fight me. Like, actually don't, but you know what I mean. But yeah, so we can sort of see Deku, like, they're all back in the dorms, and Momo's making tea, because of course she is. And she sort of has this sort of special, like, blend of tea that actually Gentle says he likes, because, so obviously that's going to tie into stuff, so Deku sees the video that Gentle is talking about, like, oh, he's got something big planned for his next video, so Deku's like, okay. So yeah, I really forgot to mention, because in that thing we kind of hear what Gentle's plan is when it comes to trying to get into, you know, UA, and basically the plan is that he's not really wanting to do anything evil, like, he's not trying to kill someone, he's not trying to stab someone, he's not trying to kidnap anybody, like, that's not his thing. No, he just wants to prove that he can get into UA, because now UA's, you know, security is very tight, so he wants to prove that he can get into UA, and that's it. He's not gonna do anything else, just to prove that he can get in there, because if he can get in there, even after having, you know, the huge, like, security buff at UA, if he can get into it, then he's gonna go like skyrocket and stuff like that. So he's not caring about like doing anything that evil. He just wants to get those views. So yeah. And they go about like what the plan is, and he's gonna first have like a bit of a tea time because there's like this mini cafe right next to this convenience store. But even though it doesn't really look like a cafe, it looks just kind of like a tiny house. So it's like not many people will know about it because obviously the convenience store is like right next door. So people are not really going to go check it out. So yeah. So yeah, it is very interesting. So yes, that is my thoughts on this episode. So let's get on to my thoughts about episode 21. Alright, so this episode, oh boy. The fact that it was called Deku versus Gentle, I was like, ooh, this is interesting. We're gonna get a lot of like fight stuff happening because I know a lot of people who've been watching these episodes have not exactly been happy with the sort of chill atmosphere because they're all about, the fights, and I get that. If you're more about fights, then fair enough. These episodes you're not going to like. But for me, like, I like good fight episodes and I like good chill episodes because I just love to see characters interacting. Maybe it's just me, but that's what I love. Basically, before we talk about Deku versus Gentle, so basically, it's the night before, the school festival is to happen, and they're all getting ready, and Deku realizes that the rope that he's carrying Yama on is basically become very frayed, and he's like, okay, we can't really use this because it's going to be very dangerous, and, it might snap, and, we don't want any of that to happen at UA. So he's like, right, I can probably get some rope somewhere early in the morning. But then someone's like, oh, but how are you going to do that, Deku? Because most, our performance is at, 10 o'clock in the morning, but most stores, again, don't open until 10 o'clock. So what you're going to do? And Deku's like, oh, don't worry, I know there's this convenience store that's, open at 8 a.m. I can go down there and get the rope there. And someone's like, and they're like, oh, but that's a bit short notice, but he's like, oh, no worries, I can get that done. So it becomes the next day, and Deku is, again, training with All Might to obviously try and get really better at getting better at what he needs to do for his quirk. Hatsu finds Deku and is like, because she kind of figures that he'll be there because she saw him training there with All Might before, so she thought, oh, he might be there, so I'll go see him. And of course she gives him the new gloves, which obviously these are the gloves I remember seeing in the My Hero Academia movie that I talked about last week, because I remember talking about those gloves before. So at least now we got an origin of where they came from, and of course they're talking about it and how it's just gloves that she just fiddled with and it should be alright. And Deku was like, oh, I thought you weren't gonna really make those items until the school festival was over. But then she's like, oh, but that's I kind of just wanted to anyways, and because she says, how artists when they take their break they still doodle. That's basically what I did. So she made these gloves. Well, she found them in a pile and just obviously modified them, and she gave them to Deku, and All Might asks to take a look at one of the gloves. So obviously Deku hands him the glove, and of course he's quite impressed by how it's just basically a simple glove, because again, as we stated in the previous episode, All Might had used an item before, but as we saw, it was way too bulky and he couldn't really move that well. But the fact is, these are just gloves that are just on his hands, and he it's not going to stop his movement. He found it very interesting, and then he realized, well, technology has advanced way more than it has back in his generation. So obviously, as technology goes on, people are going to find ways, to go around that. Again, it was really, really cool that they did that. Which again, I really liked how they talked about, because yeah, it would make sense in that way that in the kind of world that they're in, it's kind of meant to be sort of how they explain it. It's sort of like a future version of our world, but people get superpowers in that kind of way. So obviously, yeah, things are going to change throughout the generations, and because again, if you think about it, how computers used to look 10 years ago from how they look now, how consoles are, phones are, etc., etc. So technology always improves, and again, would make sense in the hero world. So yeah, that was really interesting. And yeah, so then obviously Deku realizes, oh, I need to go get this rope at the convenience store. It's nearly 8 o'clock, so I'll go down to the thing, because he did say it was like about 15 minutes walk to, obviously, from UA to the shop. So Deku goes down to the convenience store, and he obviously, like, at first he's like, I don't really know if they'll have rope or anything, but luckily they do. So obviously he gets his stuff, and then goes to make his way back to UA, but he bumps into Gentle Criminal. So obviously Gentle Criminal and Brava come out of the cafe, and at first, like, it seems all normal. They kind of just seem to have a nice sort of conversation. Because at first, like, Deku's like, oh, this is that little house is a cafe? Huh, I would never have guessed. Gentle Criminal talks about the tea, and then we learn, of course, the tea that they serve is the same kind of tea that Momo had in the previous episode. So Deku obviously knew of the brand, and of course this got Gentle a little excited, because he was like, not a lot of young people know about this brand. What? And of course, but at first it's like, right, he doesn't want to be spotted. He doesn't want people to know that he's there. But of course, he hears about tea and he gets excited. So yeah, so obviously they have a conversation, and Deku's like, well, I didn't really like know about it. It's just that a friend of mine gave us some last night, and she's like really into that stuff. And of course he's like, oh, that's cool, like your friend's into that. But then of course it kind of clocks into Deku's head, like, huh, I've heard this voice before. Like, I swear I've definitely have. And he's thinking, and he's like, wait a minute, that video of that guy talking about tea. And then he recognizes the voice, but then like Gentle and Labrava sort of like go over to walk away, because they're like, right, we need to get out of here before he realizes. And then you're like, that's too late, because he already realizes, and he goes, wait a minute. And then he realizes what obviously Gentle said in his video about what his next plan is, and then he realizes that the next plan is to get into UA, and he's like, oh, no, that's bad. Like, ooh, Deku gets mad, and you can understand why, because he talks, like, he's like, okay, all my friends really worked hard on making all this stuff happen for the festival. Eri wanted to come to this festival, and again, he knew how hard everybody worked on it, and he also knows that if the alarm goes off, that's it. No festival at all. So he was like, oh, no. And you could see, like, the anger building in him, and like, they have it, and he's just like, no, you're not going anywhere. You're Gentle Criminal, and you know you're not going to do what you're going to do. And then obviously Gentle, they sort of start to have a bit of a fight, and we sort of learn what Gentle's quirk is. It's sort of like a stalactite, I think that's what it was. Basically he can sort of make freezes in his air sort of way, and make things bounce off and stuff like that. So that is interesting that we at least got to learn what his quirk is. It's a very interesting one. Like, again, he could have easily became a pro hero if he wanted, but that ain't his style. But yeah, so they go off and have a fight, but before going into the Brav fight, like, Labrava's like, dude, do you not know who this guy is? Like, Gentle, this is Izuku Midoriya. He is the guy that was at the sports festival that broke all his bones and stuff. Like, this boy is crazy. And I'm like, and I'm just sitting there watching the episode going, yeah, you're kind of true. Deku is kind of crazy, and will do anything for any, like Deku is crazy. Like, he's very powerfully strong, and if you threaten his friends, oh boy, you better like, you do not want to mess with this boy. And Gentle's kind of like, I can deal with it. And then of course they end up going to like this sort of like construction area, and where Gentle basically tells Deku his plan of what he's planning to do, and he's saying, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to kidnap someone or stab someone. No, that's not my intention. I'm just wanting to get into UA just to prove that I can do it. And Deku's still like, well, no, I don't want you to get to UA, because that means the alarm will go off and then it's gonna get cancelled, blah blah blah. And he's like, but then LeBron was like, oh, you don't need to worry about an alarm going off, because Bravo over here can basically turn it off, but Deku's still not having any of it. He's like, no, that's not happening. So they have this fight, and then Gentle basically ends up taking a screw out of one of like the building bits, and it has it look like he's about to drop it on this bystander who happens to be there. But obviously Deku catches it in time, but he was like, you were really going to just... And then Deku's like, you were really going to drop this on someone? And he was like, not really, no. Like, I know you were going to try and stop it, and even if you didn't, like, it would just have bounced off the ground. So, like, Deku obviously is there, holding this for dear life, and looks like Gentle and Bravo are going to get away and get into UA, and Deku is still like, no, this is not happening. So he ends up, like, lifting the thing in one hand and using his obviously new glove and reaching straight to Gentle and hitting him right in the back, and he's like, oh. And we cut to like the other students getting ready for the performance. You know, everybody's getting nervous, getting cold feet, you know, getting ready into their costumes and stuff, and they're like, oh, that's weird, where's Deku? And Yan was like, oh, he's going out to get rope, and it's like, oh, that's a bit weird, like, wouldn't he have been here by now? And then it goes back to obviously Deku and Gentle, and we see a little thing where it says 69 minutes into a performance, and whew, then it just stops there. And ooh, next episode, I can feel it, like, it's probably going to be a very tense episode, so if you're someone who has not really like the chill episodes, you don't need to worry, because probably next week's episode is not going to be chill. And honestly, I cannot wait. I kind of still hope that the festival will still go on, but it might be a chance that it will just get cancelled, and I really hope not, but we'll see. So yeah, it'll be definitely very interesting to see what happens there. So yeah, there are my thoughts on the episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to like and subscribe for more fandom content that you just take a stick at. And see ya!